Welcome, everyone, to the Detroit Lions Lone Wolves podcast. I'm the Doc, John Macaroon. Hope everyone's having a great Tuesday. How are you? We're here today to correct what's wrong with the Detroit Lions. What the heck is wrong with the Lions? Look, have you had your fill? Dan Campbell takes 24 hours before he recovers. That's about right. I feel like your anger goes all the way through Sunday night into Monday. You're working and you feel a sense of frustration, and then Tuesday hits and it's on to the Bears. Thank you guys for joining. The early people that were here commenting, I love it. Shout out Sheldon, John Hughes, my man. Brent, always a good time talking to you. How's everyone today? Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, hit the notification tab to know when the doc is live. You'll get the bell. You can check at Detroit Podcast. You'll know. As many times as possible, we'll go live 4 or 5 times a week. Probably looking at Monday and Saturday being off, or Monday and Friday being off. We'll see. Monday, Thursday, one of those days. But for the most part, why not enjoy an hour or so talking Detroit Lions football, fun in the media? Am I a ghost? Am I a real reporter? We'll joke around and have fun. But let's start with, cleaning up some overreactions. Look, Dan Orlovsky hates the Lions. Dan Orlovsky has been loyal to Matthew Stafford since the Stafford trade. And it's, he expressed some valid concerns. And I thought on the Pat McAfee show today, he was definitely getting ribbed. He saw that people were saying that Jared Goff is now him without Ben Johnson. Are you concerned? Without Ben Johnson, Jared Goff is Dan Orlovsky, and the boys were letting him have it, especially the Packers fans. Oh, my gosh. They were like, listen, Dan, people are just saying that people are now comparing Jared Goff to you. And do you have concerns? And I expected a little bit more of a medium response from Dan Orlovsky, but nope, he has concerns. Major concerns. And let's check in with what he said, because he brought up what was the biggest concern. John Morton changed the offense. John Morton changed the offense, and I'm a little bit concerned about that. Let's hear what he said. This is the response that he gave after he found out he was getting ribbed. He's like, everyone's making fun of you. Here's what he said.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not going to let you talk about Jared like that.
Thank you.
I'm going to answer it honestly. I mean, he's gone to 2 championship games, okay, and a Super Bowl with 2 different teams. So stop it. I would tell you this.
Whoa, Super Bowl with 1 team.
Yeah, 2 championship games, 1 Super Bowl.
NFC championship games.
Okay, just make sure.
Yep.
You lumped them in.
That the Lions are the most concerning team for me out of week 1.
Oh.
Most the Saints.
Dude, I would tell you. Nah,
Most one.
because the Saints. And expectations and
Most one.
because the Saints and expectations and what you kind of want them to be, dude. The Lions offensively were as fun to watch. You would look forward to cutting on their tape and watching it, and you would just marvel at the ways that they would create advantages for their players. That the way that they would create leverage advantage or numbers advantage and chunk plays. I saw one, and I think it was a busted coverage by Green Bay more than a advantage created by Detroit. It was, I'm trying to be respectful here, it was a boring watch. It was a depressing watch. There's a lot of credit to Green Bay's defense, but man, what it was the past 3 years with Ben, and then what it was this past weekend looked nothing like themselves.
You think they're dead?
I'm not saying dead, because there's still a lot of talent. The interior of their line has to play better, but I am very concerned with kind of them replicating their past couple seasons' success. Absolutely. It's not going to be the same offense. Dude, Jahmyr Gibbs had 10 catches for 31 yards. What are we talking about?
Yeah, BA said it's going to take a little bit.
Swarming right there.
Yeah, the Packers are fine.
And Packers defense is very good.
Really disappointing when you look at from the perspective of how that went down. John Morton changed the offense. And it's a little bit tough. How concerned are you about the Detroit Lions? Is that an overreaction from Dan Orlovsky? How much is that an overreaction? Are you concerned? Ken Ross, they had no answers. Sheldon, not a chance. I bet it's going to be a clinic on Sunday. No concern about the Bears. Adam Whitehead, I know we need more than 4-yard passes. That's the thing. The offense looked boring. And so my question to Dan, what did you guys think? Was that a fair question? John Hughes, what up, Doc? What did you think of Dan's initial reaction to your question before his answer? And so here's the inside scoop on that. I had put out on X, hey, what do you guys think about some thoughts that you guys had about the game? And a lot of people said the route concepts were confusing. It didn't look like John Morton schemed the receivers to get open. It was a lot of vertical routes, a lot of the same routes, no spacing. And so I said to Dan, it kind of felt like the vertical routes were simplistic, meaning it was repetitive. You had a couple zone breaking routes to get into the middle of the field, a handful of times, one to Laporta, but it felt like the routes were kind of simplistic. I should have really said predictable, but I said, do you agree with that assessment? He's like, no. But he revealed, now he said, really? Like, Dan, I think, I don't know if you know, but the NFL has a service where we all can watch the film very intently. We can see the depth of routes. We can see what your receivers are doing. Everybody's screenshotting all the receivers standing in a row at the same line, the same depth, no spacing. He's like, really? But he said that was the plan, was run verticals, and if there's nothing there, check it down. Was that a fair question? Was I right? That's what I saw. I saw depth. I saw route concepts that I didn't like. Was I wrong I thought it was a fair route concept question, but I thought his answer was fair. He's like, that was the game plan. Move the ball forward, and if there's nothing there, check it down. They emphasized that, and I felt like it was predictable. I felt like it gave the Packers an advantage that they didn't have to do a whole heck of a lot. It seemed simplistic to me. But that was the plan. $5 from T. Much appreciated. Super chats go right to the front of the line. They're much appreciated. Thank you humbly. Doc, worst case scenario, is there a center or guard that we could possibly trade for? And how many losses until coordinators are on the hot seat? Great question. I think the next guy that they would go to might be Tate Ratledge. If it's bad. Or you go to Cologne on the practice squad. I think you stay in-house. Maybe Kingsley? I don't know. I don't know. The Lions, I feel like will stay in-house. But we're going to talk about that. And around the, maybe 15, 20 minutes from now, we'll talk about what we got to correct, what the Lions have to correct before. Call Brandon Scherf. Listen, is it time to start the bring back Frank movement? Is it too soon? Graham Glasgow's film was really hard to watch. I watched the film 3 times now. Once just casually watched the replay, and then once for offense, once for defense. And my goodness, lots of things to correct. And it was a game plan that I felt wasn't conducive for the Lions to pressure the Packers. It was more of a let's react to the Packers. Because every team's going to play too high safety on you. That's how you prevent balls from going over the top. You don't just sit there and take it. You make stuff happen in football. Otherwise, every team's going to let you dink and dunk down the field. Is that what you want to do? Is dink and dunk and then just get to the red zone a handful of times and play close games? Memo, you are allowed to win games 45-10. It's allowed. You don't have to play close games. You can boat race teams every week. Was that a fair question to Dan Campbell? I thought so. some in the media didn't think that was exactly worded right, but I thought there was a lot of vertical routes. I agreed with what you guys had said. Simplistic route concepts. Now, maybe I should have said predictable, but I said simplistic. It looks simplistic. Did you see a lot of comeback routes? Did you see a lot of schemed open, exotic routes? Crossing patterns? Picks? It looked simplistic to me. You didn't try much deep. One explosive play? Well, we just want to take what we can give. And then a lot of the reason was the offensive line was atrocious. What did you think about what Dan Orlovsky said? A boring watch. He's got concerns. Wow. A boring watch. Campbell hooked up his guy in Morton and also a Sean Payton guy. Now he is going to waste a prime year for this team to compete with this OC. Leonard gets in. Shout out to you. Why run Gibbs like he's a power back? That was the crazy thing to see. 10 receptions, 31 yards. Everyone's in the comments. Bring back Brandon Scherf. Bring back Frank. That's not what I expected one game into the season. Bring back Frank. I felt like the game plan looked simplistic to me in terms of the play calls and the route concepts. But he said that was kind of the plan. Anakin agrees. Yeah, it's too easy to figure out. Okay, so I felt like it was a fair question. But Dan said, really? I thought that, in the end, when you have a game plan, of course, he's not worried about what the critiques are going to be of it. The Lions are not viewing it the same way the fans are viewing it. The Lions are viewing it, we didn't execute in the red zone. We did what we wanted to do. We moved the football as much as we wanted to into the red zone, but we shot ourselves in the foot in the red zone and cost ourselves a chance to win. Now, the rest of the world is thinking, bring back Ben Johnson's offense. Did you see the Freep headline this morning? I knew it was going to be about John Morton. I was there. I saw Carlos. But did you see that headline? One game in, and the Detroit Free Press is calling John Morton a Timu Ben Johnson. One game in. Woo! That was, I even was like, woo! What has the Freep been? What did the Lions do to the Freep? One game. Is that accurate? Do the Lions have the Timu Ben Johnson? I didn't even write that. We just said they didn't play to the standard. The Timu Ben Johnson. And they get 6 credentials. And I get 1. That was, woo. But it got my attention. I subscribe. I read it. Great work, as always. The Timu Ben Johnson. I was like, I did the like, oh, wow. What's your concern level? What do you think about what Dan said? Do you validate what he said? Boring watch. But we got to talk about it. Jared Goff every week goes on the radio. Now, every week I consume as much Lions content as you all. And did Jared Goff go, and Dan Campbell, I kind of need, listen, I'm going to need you guys, Dan Campbell and Jared Goff. Can you go on the radio on Friday? We're all tired after all the coverage on Monday. We're all done the broadcast. And then Jared and Dan go on the radio on Tuesday. It's overkill. It's overkill. Go on Friday. Whew. Or go on Thursday when Dan Campbell doesn't talk. Because what happens is Jared talks to the radio station and gives us media 6 minutes. Whew. But I listened to it. And Jared said, he was similar to Alex Anzalone. He said, it's foolish to critique John Morton right now. It's foolish. He said there's new communication. There's new stuff going on. It's going to take time. Why? It doesn't have to be that way. What do you mean what do you mean John Morton? Listen, could you imagine this? And I'm looking at it from my perspective. You helped build this offense with Ben Johnson. You look at what they did last year and the biggest scoring offense, and you got an improved JMO and an improved Gibbs. What are you changing? I'm not changing nothing. I'm calling Ben and being like, listen here, Ben. I'm taking everything and adding one or two things. That's it. What are you changing? What communication needs to be changed at all? I think I'm telling you what I'm going to ask Dan tomorrow. Why change? Why change anything? The offense was great. Great route concepts. Amara could get open whenever he wants. Gibbs was in the flat. You had explosive plays. You had trick plays. You had Jared Goff looking like an amazing. Why change any words? I'm not changing nothing. Nothing. What would you do? Why would the offense look like that? Why would you change anything? The offense was ready-made. You got a 5-star cake. It's delicious. Everybody loves it. That's the worst thing ever is when my wife makes the most delicious dish. And I go, I love it this way, the way you just made it. It's beautiful. Make the chili the exact same way. Please, honey, write the recipe down. Please, I love it like this. The next time it don't taste the same, I'm like, honey, it doesn't taste the same. She's like, yes, it does. I'm like, no, it doesn't. This is not. Yeah, what on earth would make John Morton change anything about that offense? Wasn't exotic, wasn't explosive. It was just kind of what Dan Orlovsky said. It was just, Steve Lehman gets in. If only there was a specific period of time before the season started, like, a few weeks before where the starters and coordinators could gel. If only. I'm going to talk about that because someone else brought up the same thing. Ghetto Boy Juan. He was asked today on the radio, does he think not playing the starters has anything to do with all the missed assignments? He says that you're not playing most of the time the other team's starters. So he likes at least the work against joint practices where you get good on good. Like he admitted, but the headlines today were a little bit wrong from a lot of the sites. They were saying Dan Campbell said that, Mahogany and Ratledge could have played more. But he also said in the same sentence, he said, yeah, but at the same token, my other thought process is you're not playing against starters. You're not playing against the real competition. That's why he loves joint practices. You get good on good. It's more controlled. It's not the same. So there is a give and take. If you play a game, there's unpredictability. Like Ratledge could see a blitz. He could see a guy that he's never worked against before. So there's good and bad. But at the same token, guys, this team has the worst of the worst injury luck. And Ratledge goes down with an ankle injury in the preseason, and Ghetto Boy Juan's up in here saying Dan Campbell made the worst decision in the history of sports. So I'm of the opinion that why did the Steelers and the Jets offense look good? Why did the Ravens and Bills offense look good? Why change anything? Why change anything? It should just be a continuation. No change. And he said, I'm not changing anything. I just want some more explosive plays. But you then go into a game plan week 1 with a bunch of dink and dunks and some routes that do not accentuate the strengths of the team that you have? Why change a single thing? I think I'm going to ask Dan in some way, what would you guys think would be the best way to ask that? It would be, listen, Dan, I know every year you have new personnel, but you had an offense that was amongst the best in the history of the league with scoring offense in the red zone and everything going on. Why would you change any of the concepts, any of the communication when it was so successful? Why would you change it? You just got to sit in there and go, oh man, Ben set me up. Nice. Ben, you hooked it up. Nice. Thank you. And just copy the game plan. What the heck? But now what I'm saying is, of course you need the offensive line to block, but those routes, those play calls, were basic in my mind. You had one end around to J-Mo, a couple in routes to Laporta, and then a bunch of screen passes. Did that look anything like Ben Johnson's off? That looked nothing like how Ben runs it. It looked almost like a different offense. Dan Orlovsky said it. That was not the Ben Johnson offense. Why would you change anything? Why would you change a single thing? Nothing. I go, guys, we're good as good. We're not changing a thing. Yeah, your favorite uncle. Highly telegraphed screen passes. Is that what, that's what I saw. And then I saw the offensive line whiff on their blocks and disrupt everything. John Hughes, Dano gave a fair assessment. Cartier, we may not have a starting level center on this team right now. Imagine Tate playing center right now from what? Dan put that to bed real quick. What from Ben Johnson's offense do the Lions need to bring back? The fluidity, the creativity, the fun, the energy, the speed, the talent, the execution, the touchdowns. That's 6 things off the top of my head. Whatever that was, if that was John Morton's preseason game, just crumple it up, throw it in the garbage, and be like, all right, we're just going to copy Ben again. You come to work at 3:30 in the morning, you change things? You need to come at 3:30 in the morning to clap and celebrate and be like, I got the golden goose. I got the offense from Ben. Unless Ben stole it. Unless Ben erased the hard drive. You know Ben probably erased the hard drive and changed all the codes. Ben had it on the computer and is like, yeah, John, no problem. Type in this. And then it has just Ben Johnson dancing like on ESPN last night. Probably Ben changed up the code on the hard drive. Sent him to Temu. Cortez, great question. Thank you for checking out the member video. Member videos are available. They air live before they go up to the website. 24 hours to 48 hours. You get premium content. Just join as a member. Cortez knows. And you also know that I asked that very thought on the Detroit Lions on SI website. I said, did the Lions, and you guys didn't like that one because I said it 2 weeks ago. I said, in a preseason game, I said, oh, I like what the Jets are doing in the preseason. They look fluid. They look fun. I said on an article, you can type in Tanner Engstrand, Lions on SI. You'll see the article. I said, did the Lions let the real genius leave? And so that's a narrative. That's a narrative that I have started and others have thought about too, that you have to watch the Jets because you interviewed Tanner Engstrand. If you would have offered him the job, he would have been here. You gave it to John Morton. Shout out to you, Cortez, for being a member, checking out the member videos. Exclusive to those that are members. Sign up today. Exclusive videos. We'll always figure out more ways to involve those of you that are special members, man. I appreciate that humbly. Why would you change this offense? Why did it look like that? Well, one of the reasons is watching that film. Oh, my God. The offensive line was offensive. The offensive line made Penei Sewell, and that's also on John Morton. You're responsible for the offensive line and the execution of that offense. That offensive line was terrible. Dr. Detroit, I'm following the Jets. That was fun football. Me too. I hate to say that my football day on Sunday was, I watched the Steelers and Jets, loved it. Watched the Lions and the Packers, hated it. Watched the Ravens and the Bills after my broadcast on tape delay. I said, this is football. The Lions aren't in that class. Did you see what happened on Sunday Night Football? The Lions are going to get boat raced. I'm going to Baltimore to see the Lions get boat raced. But I'm going. I want to see what the best of the best look like in the AFC. Steve Lehman, member videos like OnlyFans. No. 2-minute videos, exclusive content, just talking about my ideas. First, I'm trying to build an audience, not turn everybody away. Remember, you just sign up, $5 a month. Handful, 1 or 2 exclusive videos a week. Just talking, learning some insights, stuff that only you can see, not anybody else. Cortez knows. He checked it out even and commented, which I loved. And you can also have debates. It might be times where member only chats. We'll schedule something. Join. It's fun. It's inexpensive, and it's really just a great way to say thanks for all the insider information. Keep liking. There's 200 people here across 2 platforms. That's awesome. Thank you. On a Tuesday night with the Tigers game on. And that's what's streaming right now on X. Your comment right now is being seen by the people. Member videos like OnlyFans? We'll talk about it. A lot of you are complaining about the JMO extension. $1 million per catch. Kevin, right on. Kevin Kurtz. All 5 of the offensive line played horrible. Horrible. Cartier, we have to pay Hutch too. I don't know if it's going to be $50 million if he plays like that. If, he's going to be double teamed and that's the way that it's going to go. Man, he's powerful, but he's still got to get home. You still got to win. Listen, they went with John Morton because he came highly recommended from everybody. He knew the offense. He knew Goff, partly because of Goff. That's why. I would have maybe thought about Engstrand. Youthful, would have been energetic. I think it would have been a continuation of the offense. Pat gets in. Pat, shout out to you. What was the biggest disappointment in your eyes, Doc? The biggest disappointment was the Packers prepared for the Lions. And the Lions didn't prepare to the same degree. The Packers knew on the offensive line how to handle the Lions' stunts and chips. They knew how to handle the what they were seeing from the defense. They were able to execute at a far greater level. They looked like they spent time preparing for the Lions, and the Lions didn't look at the same. They looked like they were out there playing football. It didn't look like that they realized that they're playing the Packers, their division rival, and didn't take explosive options, didn't score in the red zone at will, and started the game off not getting off the field on 3rd down, not pressuring the quarterback. The biggest disappointment was 2 pressures the whole game. Sitting there watching Jordan Love survey the field all day long. Biggest disappointment? 1, no pressure. None. Nothing significant to speak of. Where's the violence? Jordan Love walked away, could play another game right after. That's how much, that's how easy it was for him. Second was the offensive line was just atrocious. The offensive line, when I watched the film, was terrible. Missed assignments, miscommunication, Ratledge and Glasgow blocking the same area. Glasgow had a horrible run game, blocking effort. Now, he kept Goff clean, but that's 50% of the job. 50% A, 50% FF minus. His run blocking effort was atrocious. He was getting worked, and it just looked confused. The Lions in the interior, but you also know if you read Lions NSI, 2 times in practices I wrote as takeaways, the interior rushing from the Lions wasn't good. Gibbs and Montgomery would run up the middle and nothing would happen. I wrote it specifically, so it's not new. You guys knew running up the middle was not good in training camp. I wrote it as a headline. I wrote it as a header in one of the takeaways. Interior rushing looks weird, looks not good. Gibbs has to kick it out a lot. The offensive line has to improve. What did you guys think? What is your reaction about Graham Glasgow and what's going on with the offensive line? Is it too soon to start a rookie on a Super Bowl team? Everything that you didn't want to hear coming out of that game, you heard. Why didn't you sign Kevin Zeitler back? Why didn't you have another defensive end? Why does your pass rush look terrible? Why do you have John Morton as your offensive coordinator? Every single argument that could have been made as to what could have been different was brought up because of how bad they played. Graham Glasgow had a very poor effort in one aspect of his game. The run blocking was atrocious. What do you guys think? Should they have kept Tanner? Oh, 1-0 Yankee. Thanks for the update, Ken. How many games are they going to win this series? That was my last question before I broadcast at Detroit Podcast. How many games are they going to win in this series? Dr. Detroit. Every top defensive end is double teamed and still gets 10 plus sacks. No excuses. Love it. I love it. Absolutely. You got to execute. No excuses. This isn't fanboy town. This isn't the fanboy show. I love it. No excuses. Bring the pressure, and it didn't look good. But I'll say this. The Packers' offensive linemen were stronger, had better leverage, had better technique. They had, early in the game, I saw, they brought Campbell and Anzalone out as blitzers. And Campbell tried to get through there. Nope, he got double teamed. Anzalone engaged, then tried to stunt, and the offensive linemen were shifting magically. The Packers brought it. Guys, you also have to credit the Packers' offensive line. They brought their blocking A+ style. That's not a college offensive line. That was an offensive line that was athletic, that was moving in sync, that was in rhythm. The Lions tried blitzing, and it did nothing. It did nothing. They tried from the backers. They tried from the secondary. They tried. That's what was scary. They tried to be creative, and they did nothing. And Dan today activated my fear. You can't just say, we just expect it to get better. They got to execute a lot better. Dan was asked, okay, if Aiden's going to get doubled, what do you got to expect? He's like, we got to expect it from the interior. DJ Reader and Tyleik Williams are not going to be pressuring the quarterback all that much. So there might be some adjustments going on here. So, yeah, some of the concerns are valid, but they got to be cleaned up. And maybe you just have to adapt a little bit and figure out new ways of getting the pressures. Davenport and Hutch have to step up. But that offensive line blocking was really bad. Sewell had a game to forget. Micah Parsons on a couple reps embarrassed Sewell. Now, the one that I caught was great. Was Sewell holding up, maybe an illegal hands to the face, but he was pressuring, he was pushing back Micah Parsons there. But that was a great rep. But there was a couple where Micah Parsons used his skill set to win. Are you guys concerned about the offensive line? How soon do you think it'll take before they gel? Graham Glasgow's your center. That doesn't seem, it was a concern that people talked about. Youthful interior, Mahogany, Ratledge. So Dan Campbell said in his interview that maybe he should have played them in the preseason. Maybe, but you also risk injury. And they wouldn't have played starters, but the more reps, the better. So he might have made a mistake with the interior of the offensive line not playing together more. But you know what would have happened? If Dan Campbell would have played those guys, one of them would have got hurt. Almost guaranteed. This injury situation is crazy. And guess what, guys? Unfortunately, Jamarco Jones, who had a significant injury history, comes in and the first week of the season practicing on a Thursday, hurts his ankle and done for the year. On a Thursday practice, out for the year. Dan was asked, is he coming back? Dan said, nope. And he looked frustrated. Remember our old bit. When Brad signs the next person, please don't release the stats, release the injury status. This player has not had an injury since 2017, and he's good to go. And just lie. Just flat out lie. This player, we've signed him. He's got an extensive history of playing. He has played in 104 consecutive games. And you're like, Brad, that's not even accurate. So what? I'm just telling you that we believe he can play. Just lie. Jamarco Jones was a player that struggled with being healthy his entire run of the last couple of years. Comes in, it looks decent, and gets hurt again. Thank you. And that's unfortunate. Sling Pizza. Doc, is there a way for Johnny Mo to speak to Goff on the sidelines through the headset? They're communicating. And Jared Goff, if you go to 97 won the ticket, great reporters there. They were asked that. He's like, that's not an issue. That's silly. There is no issue with, he's like, there's no difference. They communicate. They're having conversations. They just got to use a phone. So that's not an issue. The issue is John Morton put together a plan that was so boring, it put everybody to sleep that was watching. You guys all run, and if nothing's there, check it down. Check down city. Nobody liked that. I don't care if they're running too high safety. Then you run some immediate slant routes. Run something different. Guess what? There is a way to beat Tampa too, guys. It is kind of a lot of dinking and dunking, but you also can take some chances. You also have to expose the middle of the field. Now, some would say, well, that's where the best players are. You didn't have Hobbs. You got to test it out. You got to take advantage of the strengths of the team. John Morton also took away something that Ben Johnson did that also helps your offense. Pre-snap motion is being used by everybody. Why? Pre-snap motion allows you to see quickly, is it zone versus man, where some of the positioning is going to be. Johnny Mo's like, nah, don't need that. That's a staple of this offense. Eye candy. I bet you if I said to John Morton this week, listen, what happened to the eye candy? He'll be like, why are we talking about cheerleaders? No, John, pretending you're going to do one thing and doing this. It's called eye candy. Nah, I'm not talking about cheerleaders. No pre-snap motion. It looked like a 1945 offense. Check it down. Let's get in the red zone. Oh, false start, and we don't have any more opportunity in the red zone anymore. Field goal. You all know the stats. If you guys are burying into them like me, one time in Ben Johnson's career did he have a half with 3 points, no touchdowns. Once. And John Morton did it in one game. Oh. But you got to start with the basics. And something Dan said really, really bothered me. It bothered me. Dan said on Monday, well, we can't be exotic if we don't master the bread and butter. Blocking, assignment responsibilities, no mental errors. We gave them too much, obviously so much that they had mental errors. Yeah, I know Mahogany and Tate Ratledge are newer, but your whole offense is fresh. This should be level 5 PhD stuff. What do you mean? We went backwards. That's the true definition of regression. The Lions offense regressed with that talent? You regressed. You can't handle all that Dan gave you? What the hell are you talking about? This is Amon-Ra getting paid, J-Mo, St. Brown. You mean 2 guys on the offensive line effed it up that bad? Take them out. I gave him too much. I got to scale it back. No, you got to give him more. This is the offense that Jared Goff runs where he's got more control. You got to fix it, and I hope they do. Easy does it. Boy, you should have known. Johnny M has been in the league 27 years. He would have been great already if that was the case. Ouch. Easy does it. Not right to the point. Oh, are you guys out already after one game? I can't say that, but that's a cold splash in the face of what the heck I was expecting. Leonard, I really appreciate you, man. Leonard G, my man. Welcome. Always welcome here. Doc, great questions, man. Love it. Today or when I talked to Dan Campbell? Really? Really, John? Really? Well, listen. I can't, say that was an original question. You all sent it to me. And then I saw it on film. When you guys all sent it to me, I looked at it. I said, man, these routes are terrible. And so I confirmed. Now, not everything you guys ask, I'll ask. But I saw what you guys asked me. I saw the film. And I'm like, yeah, it makes sense. The route concepts were simplistic. That was simple. It was on film. It was nothing exotic. You didn't, listen, they ran zone at certain times. You didn't try to run anything to beat the zone. You know how you beat the zone? Interior passes. Hook, this isn't like rocket science. If they're in a zone and you can just take your receiver, I mean, this is not difficult. One runs back and then comes back on an in route, takes some attention, and one goes like this into the middle of the field. Did you see any of that? They were all running in the same area all the time with no space. Simple stuff. Zone busting concept. Stop in the middle, in front. So the defenders are here. They're in the zone. Open. They ran it on you. I mean, come on. I mean, listen, I know there's intricacies to football in regards to, if the safety is going to do this and there's eye candy from them and they do a shift and where the mic is and the drop zone. There's a lot of intricacies, but the very basic level, when they ran zone, the Lions adapted poorly. You don't need to be a rocket scientist to see it. It's right there on film. You didn't run exotic routes. You didn't scheme open your receivers. And of course, you have to also block because, John Morton was like, I mean, the best way to put it is that the adjustments were very slow. If you're not blocking, you can't have all these routes go that far down the field. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You got to kind of speed it up a little bit, but in the intermediate. Or Jared Goff's got to yell at these boys, effing block. Bring 2 more guys in and block and figure it out. But yeah, I expect all that stuff to get ironed out. I appreciate you, Leonard. I'm humbled. The offensive line, first and foremost, Graham Glasgow has to get better. Man, my kid is laughing at me because she's watching and she's like, you hate the offensive line. You hate the Lions. Shout out to my Habibi Olivia. I love you. I think she was trying to tell me, tone it down, don't get kicked off, don't piss off Dan Campbell. My kids are now starting to realize that Dan Campbell is a big, strong man, and I'm a weak little midget. She's like, please. She's like, does Dan Campbell hate you? I'm like, no, he doesn't hate me. I gotta ask him the stuff that you guys want. Dan's not gonna hurt me. Don't worry. Dan Campbell's not gonna hurt me. Corey, Doc, loving all of this. Thank you, guys. My kids are at that age where they worry that the Lions are going to hurt me because I tell them all the stories about Anzalone and what I say. So it's all good. They gotta improve the blocking. Absolutely, they gotta improve. They will. The O-line needs to mesh, and that takes time. I'm hoping, but you got to hurry that up. You better not lose to the desperate Bears. So what's your thoughts on the offensive line? How long will Graham Glasgow last? Who should be replaced? All right. Dan Campbell said something today that is starting to get everybody upset and nervous. Thank you for the 300 people here in the show. Hit the like button. Got about 15 more minutes. Super chats go right to the front of the line. Nice, Nick P. I texted Alex Anzalone about that interception drop. What'd you say to him? Do you troll him a little bit? Do you show him the part where he's upset, his hands? Also, if you text him, tell him, look, John Macker really is a nice guy. Remember, you met him with your daughter. Me and my daughter met Alex in the mall at Somerset. That was the first thing I saw. I talked to him in 2022. We met him in a mall. I said, hey, my daughter said to him, have a good season. And they did in 2022. They went 8-9 and almost got to the playoffs. But then I am tasked with asking, I asked him last year at the end of the year, I said, what's your message to those that don't think your defense is good enough? He gave a look. He's like, that's ridiculous. And defense wasn't good enough. That's the tough part of the job is you have to ask the direct question and you can't shy away. You can never be scared anytime. You got to ask. So text Alex, listen, that Doc is a real good guy. He loves defense. That's why he's hard on the defenders. He loves defense, loves hitting. Yeah, he's got to make that catch. That was momentum changer. Got to hit the jugs machine. All right, this one's for the kid. All right, give me 1 second here. She's going to see it. This is going to be so that you can share with your friends. This is real fast. This is to my kid who's sitting here watching. She's going to see it. It's fun because all her friends are like, is that your dad on TV? I'm like, yeah, that's me. That's me acting a fool on TV. All right. And something I love, you guys, when you guys have your comments on there, you're clipping it and putting it on your own channels saying, oh my God, Doc's giving me the business. Listen, I love it. That's why I highlight you guys. Hey, Phil, that's right. That's right. Let's take a minute here. It's a quick 2-minute diversion. Phil, I love it. I love it. I would like to proclaim, there's going to be only 2 minutes where I talk about myself. I would like to proclaim that Hefe is wild and Hefe and Booner invited me to their fantasy league. I said, what? I said, you guys want me in it? I said, listen, I'm the same way in real life. I said, I'm the same way. I talk a lot of trash and I'm going to share what's going to happen. You guys cool with that? And he said, absolutely. So my name, and you can rate it. I didn't go dirty at all. I went with a name that was awesome. And you guys can grade it. I went with the Supersonic Bionic Podcaster. And this was the score. Hey, Hefe, how you doing? I went and whooped them 98-83 in fantasy. I got Daniels, McCaffrey, Omarion Hampton, Nico Collins, Metcalf, Njoku, and Pearsall. And they whooped up on the Mahomies. Sorry, Hefe. You lose, I win 1-0. So also, guys, let's also be champs. Let's be great. Let's be mouth breathers, and let's go over to crunch time at 8 o'clock when I wrap up and just go over and just litter. How can you lose to Doc in fantasy? How can you lose to Doc? Oh, my God. You lost to Doc? Hefe lost to Doc? Damn, Hefe. How bad are you at fantasy? You guys got to go rescue his team. Tell him how bad his team is. Tell him he's got to step it up. Can't come and play like that. His team is terrible. Oh. Sheldon, you have caught Sheldon. You're making my daughter laugh. Sheldon, she's loving life at the moment. What are you going to call it? Go as Doc for Halloween. She loves it. Thank you. She pointed it out in the chat. She pointed it out in the chat. Oh, my kids love this, and this is great. Don't judge Doc by his cover. Yeah, I'm a nice guy. I am genuinely a nice guy. Doc, people keep saying that the Lions have been contenders for the past 3 years and yet no Super Bowl. How cute aren't they? Listen, all seriousness, Steve, it's not good enough externally in the free agent acquisition. They have wasted resources on players that have been injured. They've done great drafting. They've done great, developing certain guys. But when it comes down to the final pieces, Donovan Peoples-Jones is not going to win you a Super Bowl. The moves you made last year at the deadline are not going to win you a Super Bowl. So Darius Smith is great, but he's older. That was just a lateral move because you lost Hutchinson and Lee McNeil. That was over. Listen, if anybody thought last year you were going to win the Super Bowl, they lied to you. We said once Lee McNeil went done, it's over, but try your best to win as many games. We're good. No, we're not good. There's a problem. So Dan Campbell went on the radio and he was asked a great question. Listen, Jim Costa is one of the best. Even though he went to Central, a rugged and rogue university that produces very little, he's a product of that school. Also, Christian went there, but I'm not a fan of Central. They're a rogue school and they're irrelevant. And they have no ethics and they have no reasonable expectation to be talked about in a favorable light from my perspective. I think Chippewas are losers. And you could figure it out why I would be kind of highly upset with Central Michigan at this very moment. Lack of accountability, rogue, hiding in the background when you could just be accountable for your silly actions. Shame on Central Michigan. So Dan Campbell's asked by Jim Costa. Great question. He said, listen, if Aiden's going to be doubled, how the heck are you going to generate any pressures? Do you have confidence that you can win? Dan's like, yeah, I'm confident. We got to win the one-on-one battles. For the 13th time he said that for the last 3 years. Unfortunately, that's not been the case. They have not won the one-on-one battles. You had 2 pressures and no sacks. There have been moments, yes, but your interior is not known for sacks. Your effective rush plan is not great. We're good. No, you're not good. So they got to fix the rush plan. It was bad. Guys, when you watch the film, it was bad. There was no exotic moves. Aiden was taken away. That was the game plan. But then Davenport kept smacking right dab into the left tackle, and there was no movement. Davenport was getting pushed back. He wasn't winning battles. Tyleik Williams was not doing anything, and DJ Reader's not a sack master. Where are you going to get sacks from? There's a problem. There's a problem. Something's up, too. You're right. What's wrong with Sewell? His heart seems to be lacking. Something's up. At least in game 1. That was uncharacteristic. We need to have the Sewell rule. No interactions during the season. Cartier, I've been seeing this a lot. No, the Lions performed when they needed to. But I think that, no, we told you the offense was terrible when it was terrible. But the defense started slow against the Packers, but they picked it up. And the second half was much better. The issue was the blocking, the miscommunication on the offensive line, and the offense. Giving up 24, 27 was not terrible. It wasn't horrible. It could have been so much worse. The problem was your offense was atrocious. The offense was dressed. Guys, it's an offensive league. Your offense was atrocious. Reporters don't lie. They just ignore the reporters they don't like. But they don't lie. They just pretend that I'm invisible. That's a whole different story. I'll share it in 7 minutes. Dan Campbell still trusts. I don't trust it. I feel like, there are times where you got to give the PC answer, and there are times you got to hammer the players. And he did say they got to step up, but I think that he needed to say, we believe this football team with the talent there can sack the quarterback 4 times a game, and I got to do whatever I can to stop saying we got to win the one-on-one battles that we haven't won in 3 years. They were great. Over 330 pressures last year, but terrible at getting home. They need to figure that out. It won't die down until they figure it out. There was miscommunication in the secondary. Reed and Arnold early on had some miscommunications. That settled down. Arnold did not have a good game overall, but had his moments of growth. They picked on him. Vinny! If that's the guy, my man Vinny. How am I doing? Vincent was an inspiration for me to do this. A natural. Vinny Stubbs. Man, those shows were fun with you back there, my brother. Hopefully all is well with you. Hop in. Join the community. Listen, guys, you think some of the people in this chat are wild? Vincent Stubbs, I think I wrote a nice script for him to enter a contest once and almost got him on the air through the Detroit Sports Podcast creativity team. Close. Vincent, my man, I'm proud of you. Hopefully you're as wild as ever. Hopefully he's maybe settled down. Are you married? At least after week 1, Davenport's got to step it up. So the D-line has to step it up. It's simple as that. The defensive line, they tried to bring blitzes from the linebackers. That was not good. If you're texting Anzo, tell him, we all saw your blitzing, man. You guys didn't get home. And he's going to tell you, man, that Green Bay Packers offensive line, I got to find a way to slickly tell him, man, that offensive line kind of beat you guys. I don't even know how to say that nicely. Like, it looked like they gave you fits. Right early in the game, you can see Campbell and Anso, Campbell engages, and Anso does a stunt to try to get inside, and the guy was just standing there waiting. The guy just shuffled his, it was masterful. Just shuffled his feet, and he was right there looking at Alex. It was beautiful blocking. All right. What lesson should they learn from the Packers' loss? What number one thing do you want to see them improve? First and foremost, they got to get home. The offensive line has to block better. I'm not going to say communication. Figure out the game plan and execute it. Communication. You guys can't talk out there? Get in the books, understand your assignments, and go execute. What are you talking about giving too much? These are NFL players. Go and execute, score in the red zone. You got to run the football. You got to block. What lesson should they learn? Heaven help the Bears. I feel like the Lions are going to take out all of everything that's being said, and they're going to destroy the Pack. They're going to destroy the Bears this week. And we'll start talking about the Bears tomorrow. Amon-Ra said, boo the Bears. Dan Campbell has the mutual respect. Yeah, exactly, Cartier. Attention to detail. Exactly. There was still a chance to win that game with how bad they played. So let's continue our conversations tomorrow at some point. I think I'll hop on, start and talk about the Bears and how badly the Lions need to win this game. But tell me before I get out of here, what do the Lions have to improve upon? First and foremost, they got to block better. They got to establish the run so that Goff can run the play action. You got to take more chances. John Morton, bring back the offensive line. Please bring back the offensive line. Bring back the offense. No! They simplify the play calling. They need to figure out how to make it look like Ben Johnson's. I feel like that's what I'm going to ask. Like, why would you change anything about the offense that was run last year? Why would you change a single thing? Why? Why would you do that? Why would you change a single thing? Lessons learned, blocking better, offensive line has to play better. Graham Glasgow has to step up. The rookie Ratledge, this is the big boy. This is the big boy league. This ain't college. Can't play like that. Block better, average more than 2.1 yards running. More exotic play calls. Confuse the defense of the Bears. Take more deep shots. Utilize the guy you pay $1 million a catch to. Jamison Williams has to be targeted over and over and over again. Sam Laporta over and over and over again. Score touchdowns. It's going to get better. Defensively, easy on the miscommunications and the missed assignments, and you got to figure out a way to blitz and get home. Can they do it? I don't know. Maybe that's the next mission, is to get with the defensive minds, myself included, and figure out how the hell are they going to blitz and get home? How the hell are the Lions going to blitz? And the fun moment, John Hughes, I appreciate you. Thank you guys for listening. Yes, go check out Crunch Time. Head over there now. Make sure you tell Hefe Doc whooped you. Here's the fun media moment today, and then I'll get out of here. The fun media moment today was yesterday. It was pretty simple. The agent of the player said, hey, we signed an offensive lineman. We're coming here. And that was pretty simple. Pretty simple to figure out. Okay, he's getting signed. Now, it was pretty simple to figure out who his representatives were. So there was some contact made to figure out, okay, is this player going to be on the active roster or the 53-man roster? And so I figured it out. It's not that hard to figure out where some information comes from, guys. So I put it out there. I put it out there in a tweet. And then I put it out there in a story this morning with Christian. I fed him the information, and he wrote a story. So some media just didn't want to acknowledge it and ignored it. So let's first do this 101 for the last 2 minutes so that we can continue to prove that I'm trustworthy and that I'm not a ghost. I'm a real human. See, look, 21 hours ago, have learned that the Detroit Lions signing of Devin Cochran is to the practice squad. I think you can tell by that where I figured it out from. This was at 10:13. I'm still working, hustling, grinding. I have learned. Is this me? This is me. Me typing, me sharing. Me sharing it with Christian. Signed to the practice squad. Can you see that? Is that real? Did that really happen? Can you read that? Am I real? Am I human? Am I a real person? Am I real? Am I real? Is this real? Did I write this? Did I share this? Is this a figment of my imagination? Then a trusted reporter who calls himself trusted, and I'm just going off of, I'm not being mean, I'm just going off of history here, that the more you do it, the funnier it is, and it's just going to become more and more of a bit. The funnier part of it is you go, all right. You go, all right, this is Doc. He's sharing it, and he writes it up. And then he sees, because I read everything. Top to bottom. I watch all the videos. I read this sentence this morning with my coffee. And so I'm not going to hide it. I sit next to the man almost. I'm going to have to sit behind him and whisper in his ear, I'm here. I'm here. I'm a real person. I'm John Macaroon. According to his agency, at this point, because the transaction is unofficial, it's unclear if Mr. Cochran, not Johnny Cochran, but Devin Cochran, is signing to the 53-man or the practice squad. So I humbly said, no, man, do your job properly. And if you could just figure out who I am, you would know it was to the practice squad. I got 2 phones. Now, was this wrong? Or was this? I got some DMs on this one. They're like, you're being petty, Doc. No, I'm not. And here's why. Not being petty. Because I'm laughing. It's a bit now. It's a bit. If I tweet something, you can trust it. I got 2 phones that I pay for. I do the job. And guys, it wasn't that difficult. I want you to, if you go back to that tweet where I posted the agency, look in the top bio. It wasn't that hard. Look in the bio. So I looked, I clicked, and I looked. Look in the bio. It was basic 101 of information gathering. So now you have established in your understanding of me that I'm not trustworthy. Okay. So I've worked to then establish, listen, I have enough readers. So now really I'm only looking for, you can tell, maybe 1 or 2 people's acknowledgement. Just that's it for my own entertainment. So I say to myself, okay, and I'm philosophizing here. Okay, I sit with you. You see me. You hear my voice. I'm asking the questions. Now you hear my voice nice and loud. So you are doing your job and you do it your way and I do it my way. You may not like my way, but what does it mean when you tell your audience, when you're a professional, you're getting paid money and you're reporting on things that you ignore, completely ignore another human being. What does that mean? How am I supposed to feel about that? When I did the easiest part of the job, go to the agent's thing. His name is in the bio. His name is in the bio. The guy's name is in the bio. I didn't do some rocket research here. The man's name is in the bio. So I reported it and I wrote it. And then you still went to your audience and acted like you didn't know? Get GTFOH. Come on, brother. I'm a human. I'm not a ghost. So GTFOH and see how that works versus how I do it. Am I not trustworthy? Actions speak louder than words. I talk junk. I say a lot of things. I act wild, but I don't do that. That's the difference. That's why the media is not trusted. Can't act like I'm not here. Can't act like I'm not here. I'm loud and I don't care. I'm loud. And I'm only asking for 2 or 3 people to at least read the shit that I'm writing and don't act stupid like I'm not here. Jeremy. Just you, my Michigan friend. Now I might sit next to you. Be like, listen, Jeremy told me to ask you this, Dan. He wants to know why your offensive line didn't play good. Listen, professionally, I've done everything in the humanly world possible to be successful. So I'm only seeking the approval of like 2 guys. Is that enough to do it to call you out on my Twitter page? No. Why? Is it because I went to state? Is it because I wrote that a rumor that Jeff Bezos was buying the Lions because I heard it on a podcast and I loved Eli Zaret? The media should not ignore a loud human being who's sharing the information that you're looking for. Am I wrong? Because I look at it just from a simple perspective of I'm not that hard to find and my stuff is pretty loud. So I'm just looking at it from one simple perspective. You can't write that you can't write that. You can't write that. I'm in the room. I'm there every single day. You look at me. You're in my videos. So as a human, you simply want the acknowledgement of the peers you work with. And they know what I'm about. They know how hard I grind. But to ignore factual information and then print that when you know I'm reading it, that's just, I would call, that's the true definition of disrespect. But I still like the guy. I still crack his balls and we joke around and I joke with them. But on a professional level, just on an honest level, if you look at it from my perspective, if you all, the 300 people, put yourself in my shoes and you say, why are you doing that? I don't know. Do you need me to flash how many people read me or how many videos I'm in or how much hours I put in doing this? I don't know. But humbly on the outside, the more you do that, you're making me very successful and very angry in a good way. I don't know. And so, like I said, I run hot because I go, wait a minute, you're a human being. I read them all. I subscribe to The Athletic. I subscribe to the Detroit Football Network. I just subscribe to the Detroit News, Free Press, M Live. That's truly respect. All the nonsense you think I say about them, that's respect. I take hard-earned money out of the company and pay it. But you pretend that I'm not there. Well, you can't pretend, bro. I'm pretty loud. At Detroit Podcast, if you're curious. It's not what he wrote, it's what he didn't write. So that was longer than, 2 minutes. That was 5 minutes. But I feel better now. I probably won't do it anymore. But just ask yourself that question. Why would a person not follow the person who's right next to him? I follow them all. Some I like, some I go, we aren't going to hang out at the bar. Very professional, very cordial. But professionally speaking, How should I feel? Should I just be like, water under the bridge, you have a job? But you're printing it to your peoples. I don't know. Nobody shared it. Nobody looked it up. Nobody went to the agent's site and saw his name. Nobody. Just ask yourself, am I wrong to feel that way? Should I just let it go and just keep day after day after day after 7 years, report stuff that's actually honest? But that's okay. It's kind of like fishing. I'm just fishing. And probably he's going to be like, listen, man, I cannot share your stuff. The boss said, don't share your stuff. But I'm going to sit next to him now in the media room. He's going to be like, Dan, sorry, I want to sit next to him. He's going to know me up close and personal. He's going to know my height, my weight, what I think about politics, what I think about sports, what I think about his site, every other site. And then maybe he'll read Detroit Sports Podcast. It's unclear, peoples. But I'll ask you this. Peoples, I shared with you, I got 2 phones, and I'm reporting humbly and honestly about the Detroit Lions. And I'm having the time of my life doing it. I wish you guys the best. Go have fun. Watch Crunch Time. Tell them the doc is trustworthy. And listen, I know I've earned it. I've gotten way beyond that. I'm just looking for a little bit of professional courtesy. An inch. It ain't going to hurt you, man. It ain't going to hurt you. I'm telling you, I bow down. I read your shit. How about you return the favor? Throw me a bone. It's been a decade, bro. Can't act like I'm not here. It's been a decade, bro. Peace and love. The doc. Wilding out on a Tuesday. I love you guys. Thank you for the 300 people. Like it. What do you think of what I talked about? What do the Lions need to fix? How the hell does John get 2 people to pay attention to him? That he sort of wants them to pay attention? Just 2 people. 2. Be like, I get accepted all these awards. I was read by millions. I was viewed by millions. But one site ignored me. One site felt like I was irrelevant. He's like, you worried about one guy? Because technically you're hurting your own field, brother. You're hurting your own field. That's why the media is not trusted, bro. That's kind of the reason why. Because we all know you're doing it. I'm going to highlight it. So stop doing it. It's weird. But I probably won't keep calling you out. But that was just me telling you, you can't ignore me, bro. You can't. Simply, you can't. Detroit Sports Podcast is John Macaroon. I am Detroit Sports Podcast. I'm a sports reporter. I put out information about the Lions. If I print it, it's gold. Gold. Take that to the bank. See you guys later.